Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Research in Action, brought to you by the Division of Research at Florida Atlantic University. My name is Karen Scapinato. I work at the Division of Research at FAU. Welcome to today's session as part of the Research in Action session. Before we get started, I want to go over a few logistics. Due to the number of attendees that we usually have in our audience, we don't allow verbal questions, yet we would like your questions and would like to answer your questions that you might have. So if you hover your mouse on the bottom of your screen, you do see a Q&A button there. If you click that button, a little pop-up comes up and you can type your question there. You can type your question at any time during the presentation. We will get through the questions at the end of the presentation and answer as many questions as we can during our time here. If we cannot get to your question during the allotted time, we will collect the questions and ask our presenter to answer those offline, and we will post all of the questions and answers together with a recording of this presentation on our website, which is the Research in Action website at FAU. With that, it is my great pleasure to welcome today's speaker, Dr. Daniel Raviv. Dr. Raviv is a professor of computer and electrical engineering and computer science at Florida Atlantic University. He received his Ph.D. at Case Western Reserve University and also holds degrees from Technion University in Israel. Dr. Raviv worked at the high-tech industry and at NIST, the National Institutes for Standards and Technology, where he developed vision-based algorithms for autonomous vehicles, which are driverless cars. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to have him tell you a little bit more about autonomous systems from fiction to reality.
Thank you very much, Karim. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay. Also, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Kami. And for, I know it's a long process to get into that particular point. I would like to share my screen right now. Yep. Okay. So, the title of the talk is Autonomous Systems from Fiction to Reality. And the motivation for that, or inspiration, at least for me, to get into this area is nature. I never understood how fish do not collide into each other. Maybe they do, but we don't see it. This was one inspiration. Another one is a flock of birds. I just love it, love to see it, love to watch it, and just try to figure out why they do not collide. Not only there, you can see in nature birds flying in a V shape, as well as airplanes and bicyclists, etc. You may have seen, this is another inspiration for me, crazy intersection, usually in Vietnam or India or Thailand, where there are no traffic lights, and you cannot really get the idea, I couldn't get, how they don't collide. And just to give you a feeling about it, this is just amazing how they don't collide. How do they do it? We don't know. So this is my main research about how do they don't collide. I started this research with, I was very lucky to be part of NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, in a project for the DoD, Department of Defense in the US. This was in Maryland in 1990, and I was part of this project. We had a Humvee that drove in the beginning 25 miles per hour, and then this Humvee managed to go all the way to 65 miles an hour on a highway, on Seneca Highway, those who know where is Seneca Highway. I came back to FAU and I told them about this Humvee and what we had in there. It was a beautiful project for DARPA. We had a camera, computer, communication antenna, and whatnot, all the stuff, all the engineering stuff. So I came back and I was interviewed by the Science Sentinel, and I predicted that in 2002, this is 18 years ago, I predicted, the interview was in 1993. I predicted that in 2002, we will have autonomous vehicles on the road. I was off by 18 years. Not much, right? I came back to FAU and decided to continue the research, but we couldn't afford the Humvee. So we took a golf cart, we called it Lumi, and we equipped it with the ability to drive itself based on some commands from a camera. And as you can see here, students running after that to make sure it doesn't do too many mistakes. It made, I have to say, but we ran after that to make sure that they will not happen too often. Science Sentinels loved it. Look, professor, no hands. And I want to show you something just for fun. You may recognize this person by his voice.
It may look like a simple golf cart to you, but this is the car of the future, say researchers at FAU.
You really want to see cars on the highway driving by themselves. You want to see a driver busy with his fax machine, watching TV, singing, eating, whatever, and the car takes him from Boca Raton to Miami. As simple as that.
Lumi, as the cart's called, could be the future of hands-free driving. While this car of the future senses motion in front of it and can travel and keep a safe distance, there are a distinct set of problems to overcome before we could be driving a car with this technology.
Snow, fog is a big issue. Unexpected thing on the road.
Also, who's to blame if you have an accident?
Liability, especially in the US, is a big issue.
So I hope you recognize the voice of that person. Anyway, imagine now that here we are FAU. This is the engineering building, the new engineering building, Engineering East. Imagine that in a few years, and believe it or not, it's going to happen one way or another, we are going to be surrounded by many drones. And the drones, who knows what they're going to do? They're going to watch us, they're going to help us. And if you come with your car and you're carrying very heavy package, then the drones will come and say, oh, may I help you? And of course, you're going to agree, and the drone will take the package, and then the building will recognize you, that it's you, Joe. We'll say, welcome, Joe, and we'll take you to the elevator, etc., etc. So science fiction, as we used to think about it, is about machines that can talk and sense and think and act. But we called it science fiction. And remember, this is, for example, R2-D2 and C-3PO from Star Wars, in the imagination of George Lucas. And this is only an example. There are many things which related. You can go back 2,000 years ago and find science fiction, actually. But this is sort of most recent, 50 years ago or so. Here is from 1969. You may have seen that.
These are the controls of the most powerful and amazing racing car in the world, the Mach 5. Control G releases a homing robot from the front of the car. The homing robot can carry pictures or tape-recorded messages to whomever and wherever I want to send them. The Mach 5 is the most complex and ingenious car ever built. A tribute to my father's imagination, genius, and technical skills.
This was 1969. Well, science fiction is here, believe it or not. Look at your cell phone. Your cell phone, my cell phone, is science fiction. But we want to talk about machines, so we'll go back to the main topic. We are talking about machines that can talk with you, right? We know we have Siri, we have Alexa. Machines that can sense for you, machines that can think for you, additional thinking, something you cannot do, but they can help you with that, and machines that can help you to act. For whatever reason you want to act in a different way or faster or better, they can help you. So how can machines become autonomous? You may wonder how. After all, kids can easily fly drones. You give the kid a drone, no problem. After 5 minutes, 2 crashes, they can fly the drone. Autonomous cars are out there already. There are many autonomous cars, you know, Google and others, and Mobileye and whatnot. And we landed on the moon more than 50 years ago. If we landed on the moon 50 years ago, of course we should be able to have machines that can think, right? Or do something, or autonomous. So this takes us to artificial intelligence. Few examples. Deep Blue, IBM chess-playing computer, defeated world champion Kasparov in 1997, 23 years ago. So machine won. AlphaGo, a program by far more complicated than the chess playing, built by DeepMind, won against the world's best human player. You won't believe how many options are there to win or to lose. AlphaStar, artificial intelligence program also by DeepMind, managed to beat 5-0, a top player in the complex strategy video game Craftstar 2. This was 2 years ago. IBM Watson and Jeopardy. Well, they brought Ken Jennings and Brad Rotter, and they say, okay, let's see how well you can do against the machine. Believe it or not, the machine won. In 2011, Jeopardy machine won against two greatest champions. And you can tell that Watson is doing slightly better in this case, but believe it or not, it was by far better. Anyway, the machine won. Project Debater. Machine was able to debate and win a debate. Can you believe that? Machine can listen, understand what you say, make sense of what you say, go to a database, prepare a whole speech to respond to what you just said, listen to, be able to comprehend what you said, and win. So this is a picture from 2018 in San Francisco. Dan Safrir and Noah Ovadia tried to debate against the machine, and of course the machine won. So what's the story here? We have to make sure that we understand where we are standing here. Most of the successful examples that I just showed you are amazing, right? But they are in a well-defined narrow domain. So it's a chess, it's a you know, AlphaGo, etc., etc. But when you talk about many other domains, we still have a long way to go. But we are moving very, very fast. For example, by Stanford University paper, machine was able to recognize this picture. Man in black shirt is playing guitar. Construction worker in orange safety vest is working on board. Two young girls are playing with Lego toy, and boy is doing backflip on wakeboard. Amazing. Machine was able to look at it and recognize. Strange. Well, this machine has to learn somehow. There is a huge database called ImageNet with I don't even know how many hundreds of millions of pictures they have there. And if you want to show that you have a good algorithm, you have to show it against this database. For example, when you see a donut, right? You see this donut? We can see one donut and we can infer that all the rest are donuts. But machine, you have to explain to the machine that there are many different things, look totally different, and we call all of them donuts. Buses, cake, different kind of cake, different slice of cake, different color of cake, different size of cake, etc., etc. Computer, laptops, different lighting, different size, angle of view. So the machine needs to know that all these and many other are laptops. Where do we stand with that? There are three levels I want to talk about briefly. Artificial intelligence, AI. Under that, there is something called machine learning. And under machine learning, there is something called deep learning. So artificial intelligence is the bigger picture. Everything is under that. Under that, we have machine learning, a subset of that. And in machine learning, there is something called deep learning that this is a hot topic these days, that help people to teach a machine, or machine can teach themselves how to make sense of what they see. People can say, okay, what's the big deal? Programming was there for many years, and now we're talking about AI. What's the big difference? In programming, pure programming, it involves writing well thought of every single detail. You know, for every single input that you put there, what will be the output. You know exactly how when you know the flow of information and what to expect. In artificial intelligence, the machine can sense, the machine comprehend, sometimes you don't know how. The machine is able to put things together, to fuse the information, to integrate, to make sense of what it sees, and communicate and act upon what needs to be done. So AI is basically any technique that enables computers to mimic human behavior. The history of AI, it started in 1950, was a huge hype until 1974, then downhill until 1980, another hype in hopes in 1987, downhill again 1993, and now it's taking off and very, very fast, and we don't really know how fast it's going to go, but we do know it's very, very fast. In 1950, Turing, which is the best known for breaking the German Enigma code during Second World War, amazing guy, developed a method that can tell if a computer is capable of thinking like a human being. And there is a Turing test. If the machine can do something that a complicated thing, then we can call this machine the machine that passed the Turing test. Okay, where we are standing here. On the time scale, the top line, the solid line, is a human kind of ability or capability. The dotted line, which is going up sort of exponentially, is usually below human capability, but at some point, and this point is very, very close to where we are now today, the machine becomes smarter, quote unquote, than human. The machine capability becomes higher than human capability. So is it revolution or tsunami? Jeremy Howard showed a beautiful graph, which I decided to put here. He talks about the Industrial Revolution, the orange line. It made a difference, but after a while, we got used to this difference, and okay, we can live with this. With machine learning, it keeps going and going and going, so the productivity becomes higher and higher and higher. Where it's going to go, we don't know. So there are several levels of AI, what we call narrow AI. This is the emerging part, then disruptive, pervasive. We are starting to touch the disruptive one. And of course, the revolutionary, which is going to be in a few tens of years from now. We are in between the narrow AI and the broad AI, closer to the narrow. So we are here in terms of development. Let's talk about machine learning. Ability to learn without explicitly being programmed. So you can tell here that there is it's not programming per se, it's the machine is able to learn by itself. Where did it start? It started with Arthur Samuel at IBM. We call him the father of machine learning. In 1962, Arthur Samuel was able to show that his machine can win, can play checkers and win. And this was a big deal, which obviously affected the stock market, especially for IBM. There was a huge jump in the stock of IBM at that particular time, but he is the father of machine learning. He developed a program that was able to be better than the champion at that particular state by playing checkers. There was another machine in Johns Hopkins. This machine was able to found out that its battery is too low, it went to the outlet and recharge itself automatically. Let's go to deep learning, which is the hottest topic these days in the area. There are 3 types of machine learning called supervised learning. What does it mean? I show the machine an apple, and I tell the machine, this is an apple. From now on, I want you to know that this is an apple. So I'm assigning a title or a name for an object. There is something called unsupervised learning. I don't necessarily tell the machine what is it, but I tell the machine, look, these 2 belong to the same group. These 2 are similar, these 2 apples. And the reinforcement learning is something which we say, this is a fresh apple. What does it mean? We now take a feature, okay, some unique feature about the apple, and the machine is supposed to learn what is a fresh apple. How is it done? When I show it an apple and I say, what is it? It says fresh apple. I give it, a plus point. If it says it's a rotten apple, I give it a negative point. So it learns by getting points, and eventually it knows what is a fresh and what is not. Deep learning goes very well into very many areas, but I want to focus on computer vision, which is where I do my research. Deep learning is an algorithm inspired by how human brain works. Basically, the more data you have, the better it gets. So why now? Where were we in the last 50 years since we landed on the moon? Many reasons. First of all, we know how to deal with big data. We can handle a lot of data at once, in parallel. We have larger data sets, larger databases, or we can collect them easily, and we can store them easily, we can access them easily and fast. There's another thing called Internet of Things. We heard a lecture by Jason a few weeks ago about it. Hardware became massively parallel and also cheaper and faster, an invitation to do more things in hardware. And software, we have new techniques, new models, and new toolbox. So the perfect timing to go to deep learning. For example, when potential effects, if you take autonomous transportation, eventually we're going to have less human-driven cars, less cars, more efficient use of cars, faster commute. You're going to get to work faster if you need to go to work, and of course less accidents, by far less pollution and less demand for parking space and maybe more space for real estate. The history of deep learning started in 1957 with something called perceptron. It's basically a nonlinear function. I'm not going to get into the math of that. In 1986, it took another twist called backpropagation, which is multi-layer perceptron. And what it basically does, it's a collection of artificial neurons in computer, okay? Where you have a set of inputs on the left and output on the right, and something happens in between. These are the green dots that can tell you what this machine saw, what this machine sensed. For example, you can, first of all, you can identify, in the first level, you can identify edges, second level, some kind of small patterns, and the higher level, you can start to identify faces. Here's how it goes. You show it many, many faces, and it's supposed to distinguish between which face is what name. So the input is huge amount of images, okay? One image at a time, and the machine, after all these layers and all these connections between very many layers to very many layers, it can give you the output. Give you the output, hopefully. For example, here, you can show it 3 pictures, elephant, gazelle, and also a penguin. And after 3-4 layers, it can tell you, oh, I found an elephant, okay? Based on the collection of features at high level. What happens in between? We think we know, but we don't know. And that's why it's sometimes easily to fool this kind of machine. In 1995, we have to give credit to the guy by the name Yann LeCun. Yann LeCun is a French guy. He is now a French-American. He got the Turing Award, the highest award you can get for learning machine, for computer vision, or sorry, for computer science. And also he got the Legion of Honor, the highest French order of merit for military and civil merits, established in 1802 by Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, so the machine, we know who is this guy, right? No problem. We don't even know, we don't even to say who is this guy. But for machine to identify that all these pictures are the same, it's a big deal. How does it know that all of them are Abraham Lincoln, right? How the machine can tell that all these are chairs? We know, we just look at it, snapshot, we can tell it's a chair. For the machine, big deal. Houses, look at how many different houses we can show to the machine. We know it's a house. For the machine, you have to teach it, this is a house, this is a house, this is a house, this is a house. In the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, from top, from bottom, different colors, different shading, different illumination, etc. We know it's a bird. Machine needs to know it's a bird. How does it know? Big deal. And of course, face recognition, a big deal, which is, of course, very important for very many reasons. This is a table tennis robot that can learn how to play against an expert. Let me show you. This is Dan versus Orpheus.
Okay, 0-0.
Getting better.
This machine, the judge we just saw, can learn by itself and improve itself to play table tennis better and better. Boston Dynamics came with something and learn from
The whole building from the inside. It's a completely new way for computer programs to interact with the physical world, automating tasks that would otherwise be impossible to do without a human being.
And Skydio, a company by the name Skydio, was able to develop a drone that can follow you no matter where you go. Amazing, amazing, amazing thing.
Our initial focus has been to deliver on that promise of the autonomous flying camera and to make it real. Basically to create a film crew that fits in your backpack. It's a camera that understands the scene it's looking at and has the ability to move itself. Those two things together are just enormously powerful. This is a very ambitious product, and to make it possible, we had to develop custom hardware. We built a device with 13 cameras that see in every direction, and at its core, it uses an NVIDIA TX1. It's the same.
Okay, there are drones which are autonomous drones. The first machine was not Amazon. To do it is Flirty. This is the first machine, not Amazon, and they do quite a good job. This is from a TED Talk.
Machines can not only perform dynamic maneuvers on their own, they can do it collectively. These three quads are cooperatively carrying a Skynet. They perform an extremely dynamic and collective maneuver to launch the ball back to me. Notice that at full extension, these quads are vertical.
There are limitations of this neural network. One of them is they need many examples. They can be easily fooled, and so far they are domain limited, meaning that they are good for finding a donut, good finding a rabbit, okay, an elephant, but it's not really general purpose. Here is one thing that was how the machine was fooled. The left-hand side, the bicycle was identified as a bird, and the guitar was also identified as a bird right here on the right-hand side. So because of the content, okay, or the context, the machine realized that guitar cannot be present in a forest. So it says it cannot be a guitar, it must be a bird, and so on and so forth. Okay, there are a few potential military applications. Some of them are frightening. The most frightening is the swarm attacks. And recently we saw, some of you may have seen the video released by the US military about micro drones. And this is a snapshot. This is F-18 releasing many tiny drones, and they can follow them and they can somehow communicate with them. You can imagine the application. These are collection of drones flying together, who knows for what. There are some issues with autonomous systems, mostly cybersecurity, of course, privacy and ethics, and also safety. For example, hackers disable brakes on Jeep from miles away. This happened not too long ago, 5 years ago. Car hackers demonstrate wireless attack on Tesla model. This was 4 years ago, etc., etc. But there are many important issues way beyond the hacking. The security and safety and ethics and privacy are big. For sure, people are not going to accept accidents caused by machines, autonomous machines, unless the accident rate is extremely, extremely low. Here's an accident by Tesla in 2019. And of course, there's always the dilemma, what should you do? You're in a trolley and you have a choice. Keep going and kill 5 people in front of you. This is called the trolley dilemma. And kill 5 people in front of you, or turn to the right and kill only 1 person. What should you do? If you do nothing, you're going to hit the 5 people. If you turn to the right, you're going to save these 5 people and kill that particular person. Lots of debate on that for very many years, and more to come. Google workers, there was some rebellion, at least as seen by the news in 2018. They did not like some of what people are doing, and many of them decided to quit the company because of that, because of ethics. United Nations also started to have some regulations, and they have a committee on that. Committee was established in 2017, and in March 19, they said they have a conclusion or desire. Autonomous weapons that kill must be banned, insist UN chief. So what do we need to do? We need to do many things. We need to do research. We need to do education and more regulations. Believe it or not, yes, regulation. Otherwise, it will go crazy. Research, not just science and technology. We need to do research in philosophy, psychology, liberal arts, etc. Education, we have to understand the implications of our new future. Privacy, what does it mean? Privacy is a big issue, or lack of privacy is a big issue. The big brother issue, communication methods, etc., and misuse of data, frightening. If someone decided to misuse the data which is collected, and a lot of stuff is collected, then many good things can happen, but also sometimes not good things. And you have to think. We have to be able to think non-stop. Regulations must be at a national level, international level, and if we see something wrong, we must speak out. We must express our opinion and mention this is not right. We don't like that. My research, my current research, you saw the one from 3,000 years ago, from the previous century. Now I want to share with you what I'm doing these days. My goal is to be able to navigate in 3D in unknown, unstructured environments. something like this one. So I want to put a car, autonomous car, that will be able to manage in this particular intersection. These people they're having a code. They have a specific code. They know what they are doing. They don't collide. They know what they are doing. If you try to drive there, they will know it. They will know that you are not part of this community. You are not. You are driving in a Western kind of style, but they know how to drive and without collision. Look at the horse. It's part of the deal. So what we try to do is we try to answer a very simple question. Are there underlying principles for this kind of behavior? We believe in our research that it must be simple. How can we say that? We are saying that because we have a proof of concept. Look at a fly. Fly does not have much complicated neural network or computation in his head. It can fly, avoid obstacles, land, take off, avoid collision, and of course, if you try to catch it, good luck. So we try to what we call think like a fly. We don't know what's going on there, but the concept we try to instill in ourselves to find a formula or algorithms that are as simple as the fly level. We started many years ago with a simulation, which I want to show you. These are autonomous vehicles, little vehicles. This is from many years ago, that do not collide. They do not collide, and we didn't tell them what to do. There was a very simple, very simple principle that they all obey without collision. The blue ones try to go from top to bottom. The red ones try to go from bottom up. Yes, it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes the blue one on the right is stuck, cannot find its way to the other side, but this is part of what we have. And it happens if you go to places where 2,000 people going one way and another person trying to go the other way, you see what happens. The person has no choice but to turn around and join the crowd. This is something we developed here. This is by Juan Yepes. He developed it here as part of the project. This is FAU from simulated FAU, flying with a drone above FAU. Wait a minute. The algorithm here is based on very simple principles, what we call flying like thinking like a fly. Danger zones or dangerous zone, you can see in red or dark red. If you see blue, it's not dangerous. So we are able to divide the space during motion to something which we should care about and something we should not care about. What we care about, we should avoid. But if something is not causing any problem, why should we bother? Back to the Hanoi intersection, we try to mimic the same algorithm or do with something like Hanoi intersection. Let me show you what we have so far. Okay, we have what we call visual fields. These fields are surrounding any moving object and can tell you what is dangerous, what is not. If it's dangerous, avoid it. If it's not, keep going. The red region, what's in front of you is something you have to worry about. The blue one behind you, you don't care. Here's another one, also similar to a no intersection, also developed by Juan Yepes. Okay. And this is superimposed on a visual field. So the visual field we developed, you can see them in a way superimposed. It's not really superimposed, it's side by side to how the visual fields relate to the actual motion that we can see on the side. The algorithm, at least in this simulation, usually avoid collision. There were some a few things we still have to fix, but we are getting there in a nice pace. This is from the driver or the biker point of view. Very good. So special thanks to a PhD student right now at FAU, Juan Yepes, who joined me to do this research. We've been working on that way before he came to here, almost 5 years ago. He joined me at the Technion during my sabbatical, and now we continue the research. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes, and if you have any questions, please go on the Q&A button in the bottom of your screen and type your questions. We will try and go through as many questions as we can in the remaining time. If we don't get to your question, we will collect those and we will ask Dr. Raviv to answer those offline, and the answers will be posted on our website for the Research in Action series. So with that, I'm going to start with the first question. How soon do you think, Danny, will self-driving be completely reliable and similar to human reactions and decision-making?
Machines are faster in decision-making than people. The machines are by far faster. Normal human reaction time is at 250 milliseconds, which is 1/4 of a second. Machine can do it 10 times faster, sometimes even more. So the reaction time is faster. The machine itself, the car itself, can react faster. By the time you pull or you push the brake, it takes time to pull your leg and you push it and so on. Machine can do it in a very, very, very fast, but for sure faster than human. The issue here is interpretation of what you see. How do you know that what you see is dangerous? How do you know to avoid it? How do you know to put priority if you see a person or a car or a block on the road? How do you know it's a plastic bag or a stone? We as drivers have this particular ability to do it. Machines are still working and learning that. The autonomous vehicles are going to be out there soon. I think they're going to be demonstrated by BMW very soon in 2021 with Mobileye, and many other companies are in line to show what they can. Tesla has done many experiments and successful ones. Here and there is some accident, but not many accidents. Google the same way. And so how soon? Very soon, matter of months, 1 year, 2 years, we are going to see them. You see, they are more efficient, they are faster, they are better, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Our next question is, isn't one of the most complicated problems with autonomous vehicles when a human tries to override the system? Do you have an opinion on that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, one of the most complicated problems is when a human tries to interfere with the machine decision. Do you have any
Yes, we had this problem in 1990. We had a Humvee and with the driver sitting next to the steering wheel without touching it. If you try to intervene, you can, but sometimes it's too late. If the car is driving for 3 hours, 65 miles per hour, you're already a passenger. You don't even think that you have to react. Everything goes well. If it turns to the left, even 2, 3, 4 degrees, this takes time, and this is almost in no time. By the time you react, it's too late. There must be always the ability to take over, always. You cannot allow the machine to be fully autonomous. You must have the ability of a human to say, thank you very much. Siri, we don't want you to talk right now. Alexa, be quiet, right? We want to make sure that we are in control. Otherwise, the machines are going to take over, even in situations that we know are not desirable.
Great, thank you. Our next question is a very interesting one, given the current climate in the US and the topic being around racial inequities. So the question is that implementing AI might present a viable solution to eliminate race-based bias in socioeconomic, education, and judicial sectors. Do you know of any plans to deploy AI to address the racial inequities that we're seeing?
You know, I read a book by Malcolm. He wrote a book, Talking to Strangers. And he showed in this book that machines did by far better than judges. You teach the machines about previous, cases in court, and the machine knows all these cases. And the machine now is being asked to make a decision about the next case. And the machines did by far better than humans. Humans are very biased. And he showed in this book, based on data, that judges are biased. They are even more biased when they see the person in front of them. They think they can sense, I'm not talking all the judges all the time, just anecdotes. We feel as people that we can feel the person in front of us. We can see if the person is telling the truth or is pretending. With machine, it doesn't happen. Machine goes by facts. So based on his research, machines did at that particular domain by far better. I feel that judges must be in the loop all the time. You have to hear another point of view that the machine does not know. Maybe that particular person had a hard time yesterday or 2 days ago. Maybe he lost something. Maybe he lost a family member unrelated to the case. Maybe he lost a person in his family. Maybe there was an accident. Listen to the person. Give the additional, let the judge based on advice of the machine, but his or her own decision should be the last word. Don't give the machine too much power. You give it the power to advise you, not to decide for you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Do you project that quantum computing will accelerate AI algorithm development, and in what time frame?
Quantum computing is, we don't know where it is. We know that only a few countries can even touch it, can do it. We don't know if it exists, but we do know that once it's there, the whole world will change. All the encryption technology will disappear. This kind of technology can pretty much break any code in a matter of minutes instead of years. We are talking about a scale factor, huge scale factor, that basically everything will change.
If laws allowed it, do you think autonomous cars could work on our road today?
Oh, for sure. I predicted in 1992, in 1993, I predicted that in 2002 we will have cars. Now I have to back it up, right? Answer is for sure.
Actually, I have a car that drives by itself. It just requires me to wiggle the steering wheel once in a while to make sure I'm still there.
You see?
Do any of your vehicles employ vehicles communicating with each other as they approach an intersection to optimize collision avoidance?
The answer is no. The simple answer is no. There is a whole different research called V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle communication. I don't deal with that. V2V is totally different kind of thing. I do things at the low level to make sure that we don't collide now with what I see. This is a big thing. This is a very big thing, unsolved yet. The intersection in India or Hanoi that I showed you is unsolved problem in the literature. People do not know how to do it. We aim at solving this particular problem, and with the same algorithm, making sure the drones do not collide with each other.
Great. Coming back to AI vision and AI interactions being, with the potential to address race inequity. So there is a problem that AI vision cannot recognize or cannot see people with darker skin colors. Do you know of any research that's being done to solve this problem?
AI cannot see
people with darker skin color.
AI
You don't recognize them. You mentioned, your apple, if you have different apples, the computer needs to recognize that they're all apples, right? Or donuts or whatever you're having, right?
Yes. It's highly developed. It's,
okay.
It's in a stage that it can tell you who you are, no matter how far you are, no matter what kind of glasses you have, no matter what kind of haircut you have, no matter the lighting, day, night, etc. It's very, very developed, highly developed area. I would say hundreds, if not thousands of people are working on it as we speak.
So the problems that originally came with the whole Face ID, where people of color were not recognized, I guess are resolved then.
It's a research, but there's a lot of stuff going on. People can now be recognized by their eyes only. You can look at a person without seeing the person at all. Just look at his eye, okay? At that person's eye. And by the eye, you can recognize the person if you have high resolution enough camera.
Very interesting. We actually have a researcher here who looks into what part of your face is being recognized in the Face ID. How long until machines will be able to change their own code and evolve? Does it good or possibly better than humans can?
Machines are becoming better and better. That's, it's hard to tell. It's hard to put a timeline for that. But we use, these days we use for everything we use exponential, right? Everything that goes fast, we say exponential. This is truly exponential. This is going beyond, we don't even know what is the rate of increase every single day. It is just beyond imagination. It's hard to predict.
So the next question is related on, you know, if a student in high school or in any K to 12 school wants to enter the AI discipline, what is the best way to prepare themselves for it? What should a high school student do to enter the AI discipline?
I would go with learning the basics first. Science, math, engineering, of course, I'm from engineering, but the math is very important. Most of the algorithms, the good ones, the high-level ones, use very high level of math. You need to know math. You need to know science. Just going to a computer and plug in numbers and see what happens and say, wow, it's fantastic, and the parents are very happy, and oh, my son is genius, right? My daughter is amazing, right? That's not the way to go. Of course, this can create excitement and engagement. This is good. But to actually do the work, when they grow up, they must, in my view, they must know math and science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we have 1 more minute left, so I'm going to finish this up with one last question. Those questions that we weren't able to ask, you know, look for the answers on our website, which is the Research in Action website. A recording of this presentation will be there as well. So our last question is, will programmers ever become obsolete?
You mean academic program?
Programmers, people who program computers.
They will not become obsolete, they will just become different level. When I was a student, we programmed in bits. We put 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and nothing happened, right? Or something happened. It was very frustrating sometimes because you work 3 days to add 2 numbers. But we learned a lot from it. Things evolved to higher level languages, even higher level languages, and at some point it will be sort of a Lego. We have it already, but it becomes more and more Lego to play with. And the question is, do you know how to connect the Lego pieces?
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Danny. It was a pleasure, and thank you very much for attending. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.